What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the BizDad Podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam Labar. Today, I am really looking forward to having a great conversation with Ralph Brewer. Ralph, we just got to meet a little bit beforehand. Really looking forward to the conversation, though. So, learning a little bit about you, your awesome community. It sounds like you have going on. So, if you can, please, Ralph, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about your family, and then tell us about your business.
Very cool. Thank you so very much for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, Adam. And my name is Ralph, as Adam said here, and I run an organization called Help for Men, and you can learn more at helpformen.com. My origin story, if you will, is that about 13 years ago, I went through a not so nice experience in my life where there was infidelity and divorce and all kinds of nastiness. And from that point on, I dedicated myself to rebuilding and then helping other men do the same. And it all came organically. I started, blogging early on in the process as kind of a method of coping, self-therapy, if you will, of getting my feelings out on the computer screen. Mm-hmm. And then got a few people to read it here and there, not much, as most blogs have. And it wasn't until, and we were talking about this before we started here, Adam, it wasn't until I wrote on one particular topic that I got attention. And that topic was, drumroll, sex.
Yeah.
So I talked about sex and marriage and my experience in my first marriage. And at the time I started writing that, I had a girlfriend who would later become wife number 2, Natalie. And I talked about the differences between the two, our attachment to each other and our relationship with each other. And somebody suggested I write a book on the subject, and I did. And that book actually took off, and it's on its 3rd edition right now. The 3rd edition just came out, and the book's called The Dead Bedroom Fix. I mentioned that because that's how most people know me, from that book. And that brought hundreds of thousands of people to me, a lot of eyeballs to my material. And from that, I created a private support community for men, wrote more books, courses, hundreds and hundreds of videos. And that is basically the very quick origin story of Help for Men in our community that we call the Brotherhood.
Welcome to the BizDad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original BizDad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the BizDad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
As you know, very passionate about dads and the strength of having a strong dad. And to me, I tell everybody on the podcast and everybody I talk to, like, the order of operations for me and my wife is my God comes first, then my wife, and then my kids. So if I keep them in that order, then I'm in a much better position. So keeping the strength with your spouse, I think, is so important. That stems down to the relationship with your kids. It stems down with how healthy they are growing up as well. So I look forward to kind of chat with you a little bit about that. But before we dive too deep into that, I want to go back to the actual origin story, rewind a little bit even more to kind of when you were younger. Let's talk a little bit about your dad, your upbringing. We chatted right beforehand about you were a military brat, I was a military brat, so I look forward to kind of swapping stories and seeing what your thoughts were as you were growing up. Like, what did you think about your dad, your experience in life growing up?
There's one thing I've learned over the years of working with men, and let me qualify this further. The guys that come to me for help, that join our group and buy books and everything, in my world, are guys that are very anxious in nature, very anxious in their attachment to their partner. They deal with a lot of anxiety. And when you examine what's the root of all this, sure enough, you know better than anybody. Tell me about mom and dad. It all starts there. And I'm no different. There was some dysfunction in my family, for sure. My father, and of course, as you know, you keep rewinding the hands of time. What about dad's mom and dad? What about mom's mom and dad? And let's start with my father. He grew up in a very dysfunctional relationship. He was raised by grandparents. He was basically dumped by his mother. His father was a World War II veteran that was in no shape to take care of a kid, so off to grandma and grandpa he went. My father was a very, very good student, very nerdy guy, and he tried to rekindle by the way, I learned all of this after his death years later. From my mother. This was kind of very quiet stuff. In my world, we didn't talk about this kind of stuff with my father's family. So he tried to rekindle a relationship with his mother, and it failed. And he did what a lot of kids did at that time, which is, I'm going to go to the military. He was very much lacking that masculine presence in his life, that transition from childhood to adulthood. And whether he knew it consciously or not, he was seeking that out, and he joined the Air Force. And unfortunately, at the time, it's off to Vietnam you go. So he went to Vietnam, served in Vietnam, and he was involved in, again, these are kind of foggy story, but a helicopter accident, crash. And badly injured, Purple Heart, and that was his ticket out of Vietnam. Some guys lost their lives in the accident, from what I understand, so not a good scene. So he got out of that and was traveling the world, still enlisted. He was an enlisted guy in the Air Force, and he was stationed in Spain there for a little bit. Zaragoza, as they call it, or Zaragoza, we would say. And he met my mother, who was a Spaniard there. And shortly thereafter, they got married, and they had me, and we lived over in Europe for a little bit, me as a little baby. And I was born in Germany, Bitburg, Germany. And then we came to the States, and the rest is history.
Very cool.
My mother, she has her own dysfunction. My mother grew up in post-Franco, oh no, actually, she was in the middle of Franco's post-Civil War Spain. So Spain went through a terrible civil war. End result was, here's Francisco Franco, who was a fascist dictator, basically. He was Hitler's buddy. That tells you everything. And it wasn't the greatest time in the world. She grew up in that. Franco actually died when I was born. It's kind of unusual, around the same year, around the same time. So she had to deal with that. She had to deal with an absent father, who was one of the many people who Franco made go away. If you didn't have nice things to say about Franco, you just suddenly just went away to a prison or who knows where, never to be seen again. That was my grandfather, my mom's dad.
Wow.
So she had her baggage. My dad had his baggage. They get together, and they have all kinds of baggage, and they have little old me. And it's so, knowing what I know now, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who specializes in helping out people with issues like this, that, wow, you ended up having a tumultuous marriage and divorce. Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
So that was me. That was my story. And none of this was very obvious until after the fact, when I had a lot of introspection and looking back, hindsight's 20/20, and trying to understand all of this and trying to do better so my kids don't have to go through the same type of things. So we don't keep, repeating this generational pattern, if you will.
What's going on, everybody? I wanted to jump in and take a second to tell you about the awesome team over at Wise VAs. Oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, we can feel a bit overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up our valuable time, and it's time to reclaim that schedule, all right? It's time to stop doing some of those $10 an hour jobs and give them back to an elite group of talent that are there specifically to help you and help you stay in your zone of genius. So delegate those $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Reclaim what matters most in your life, which is your time. Get that amazing team of elite remote talent that is there to help support you and make sure that you are giving back the best to your company. So schedule a free strategy call at getwisevas.com/Adam. That is getwisevas.com/Adam. It is an amazing group, an amazing team. They do an awesome job with everything that they've got going on there. If you have some tasks on the side, whether it's administrative, whether it's editing, whether it's recording, whatever it is, they have got an assistant for you, someone who is going to be able to help you out and take some of those tasks off of your plate. I thank Wise VAs every day for helping me process all of these podcasts, helping me take care of a bunch of stuff in the background. And I definitely would recommend them over to you. So again, getwisevas.com/Adam. All right. Thanks a lot. Back to the show. So if you were to go back in time and kind of look at your father, he was missing a little bit of a masculine figure, right? So what did that turn into for you growing up? Like, did he become, sometimes that lever goes to, they become either ultra like the toxic masculine type of man, or they become so withdrawn they don't know how to really recover unless they have done what you are talking about right now and find that introspection to kind of pay attention to what's going on. So how would you say your dad handled being a dad to a son after his experiences? He
was probably erred more on the side of, or leaned more on the side of withdrawn, the term.
Okay. Yep.
So very, very not, he told me I love yous. He was the touchy guy. So when he came home, the old hug and the kiss on top of the head, how was your day, son, kind of thing. But beyond that, not a lot of much of anything. And he was also the type that dad likes his alone time.
Yeah.
That's his thing. And I often joke that my dad would disappear for 4 or 5 hours at a time. Why? Go to the hardware store. What do you need to go to the hardware store 4 days a week, 4 or 5
Just
hours?
walk around.
Just getting away. Have a little bag of popcorn and just eating away and just wandering Ace Hardware. And then he'd go to the lumber yard. And then he'd go to the barber shop. And then he'd go to the car dealer. He wasn't shopping for a car, but he went and just hung out with guys there and met some. That was my dad, just to get away.
Yeah.
And have his own. So that was very important. And I see some of that in myself too. What we call that is kind of an avoidant streak in psychological terms. And but as I say, most of the guys that I run into are very anxious in nature, thanks to that book that I wrote, The Dead Bedroom Fix. So I can understand and sympathize with both sides of the aisle and both sides of how people approach relationships and parenting in particular. I get it. And I have to watch that myself, where I don't want to say run away, but dad needs his alone time is not an unusual thing for me. And sometimes I have to say, no, kid needs attention right now. Put down the computer or the book or whatever it is, the guitar. I play guitar, so I put down the guitar and go hang out with my boys and do whatever. So I've done a lot better job of that than what old dad did. It's sad to say that my father didn't play with me a whole heck of a lot as a kid. Did we shoot hoops and throw the ball around? Not at all. So I have overcorrected. So I'm the 50-year-old dude who's out, limping around the basketball court, playing basketball, shooting hoops with my boys or throwing the football around. And I've been doing that for years. Coached all their teams and did all other stuff. So
nice.
I have learned from that. Can I say my dad learned from the past mistakes of his generation before him? I would say so. He's much more involved in certainly what his father was. Yeah. And one of the saddest lines that I heard from my dad growing up was, son, you don't know how good you got it. You don't know how good you got a mother and father who love you. It was heartbreaking in hindsight to, think back on that. So, that was my dad.
So I often talk to guys that don't do that introspection until much later and kind of look at who their dad was. And it's not necessarily their fault, just life experiences happen, and that's when you figure it out. So my goal is to try to get a lot of guys to figure out who their dad was earlier in life, A, before they lose their father, and B, before they're repeating things that their father did or running away from things that their father did because they don't understand what their dad was doing. So it sounds like you did it, but maybe it came after he had passed. Did you already kind of figure out that? Because you said the stories that you heard were all after he passed. You heard them through your mom. So how much of this did you kind of figure out while he was still here, and how much of this did you figure out afterwards?
As far as figuring out while he was here, it was definitely the kind of the more superficial stuff, if you will, of playing with the kids more, hanging out with the kids more, being more involved in their school activities. My dad had no clue what the heck was going on with school. It's a very generational thing. But I overcorrected for that for sure. Got super involved in everything with my kiddos. It wasn't until after he passed and after my mother shared a lot of their stories and after I started on my own adventures of post-divorce that I went, now this starts to make a lot more sense. And now I can understand where he's coming from. And you give you don't want to excuse away a lot of behavior, but you understand dad more so. And you give some grace there and you go, he was just dealing with the tools that he had in his toolbox, so to speak. That's what he had. To say he didn't know any better, it's true. He didn't. There's nobody sitting him down going, you probably should go play with the kiddo. You probably should not run away from your family so much. He was just reacting. That's just the tools that he had at the time. And
I think that, I look back at my dad and his upbringing, and I think to myself, there's like, how did he do so well? Because when I was younger, I was like, man, I'm missing this, or I feel like I didn't have that, or I'm blah, blah, blah. And then when I understand who he was and where he came from, I'm like, holy crap. Like, you did an amazing job from the dysfunction and, living hell that you were grown up in. So I think that being able to understand and ask those questions of your dad. So if anybody's listening and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and your dad is still around, sit down and ask those questions. Understand this, especially if you're in your 20s, understand it now. So you're not waiting until you're 40 that you realize that your dad is way beyond where you thought he was. And maybe he's not. But at least you can ask the questions and say, hey, where are you at? And learn from who he is and who he was to understand how you got to where you are as well. So, so I think you said you have 4 kids, right? Mm-hmm. You've been married with your second wife for, is it 7 years, if I remember? Did I write that down right? Yeah, 7 years. So talk to me about your first marriage. You mentioned a little bit about the infidelity and whatnot. You have 3 kids from your first marriage. Talk to me a little bit about that, and especially if you could tie in some of the lessons that you learned looking back on what you saw throughout those 15 years you were married to your first wife.
Mm-hmm. I am the prototype for the guys in our group, a lot of the guys in our group. My ex, it's by no fault of hers whatsoever, let's just put that out there, grew up in a family of dysfunction. Who would have thought? And how it manifested in her later was she was a very avoidant person, much like my father in a lot of ways. Yeah. We often say like you end up marrying your mother and stuff like that. We also see the flip where there's some, wife has some of my dad's qualities for sure, and or ex-wife rather, and not the most romantic human being in the world. Not the most sexual, let's put that out there, human being in the world. What I often ask a lot of guys is, what is it about your spouse or ex-spouse when they're in these dead bedroom relationships and very loveless relationships? What is it that attracted to them in the first place? And often it is, and I can totally relate to this, she was kind of like one of the guys. She was very level-headed, very much a go-getter, hard worker. My ex is one of the hardest working human beings I've ever met, and really level-headed, and I could talk to her about anything. She was not overly dramatic like a lot of women in our lives. She wasn't, in hindsight, not the most feminine either. That dynamic, me, Mr. Needy, anxious guy, her being more avoidant, more masculine energy type, doesn't end too well. And we see that a lot in our group. And it could be argued maybe we're seeing that now more than ever. We got a lot of career women out there that are raised by kind of very dismissive parents that are like, take care of yourself. And so these girls later become women, learn that I got to take care of myself. I can't really trust anybody out there. I raise myself. I cook for myself. I take care of myself. I do my own homework. And some of these women end up being very hyper successful, PhD, MBA, corporate whatevers. And that tends to be the type of woman that I'm attracted to. And I've learned over the years of marriage, dating, marriage, I'm like, seems like I got a type. And Natalie, my current wife, shares a lot of those same qualities, with the exception of she's dealt with those issues. With the exception of she's much more anxious in nature when it comes to being attached to her partner, much like myself. She loves the holding and snuggling and touching and all these other things and talking and very, ultra communicative, something that I didn't have in the first relationship whatsoever. So we were just very much coasted, and back to relationship number one, on this template of not a lot of drama. Everything's cool. What do we got to complain about? I got a roof over our heads, and then the cracks in the foundation wouldn't really show themselves until the inevitable happened, which is little cruddy life situations. Somebody dies. Somebody in her family, like a brother or whatever, gets in trouble with the law. Somebody, whatever it may be. You can see these little stressors that cause little cracks in the surface, as I say, and then her behavior would start to deteriorate as a result. And you're like, who is this person? Why is she acting this way? She's not coping very well with these things. And from what I hear from a lot of these ladies, because I do, a lot of ladies reach out to me and tell me their story, and I'm like, I've heard that one before, is the weight of the world is on their shoulders. They're always taking on everything. There's nobody they can turn to for anything. No masculine figure or father figure to turn to say, can help me out? The ground under my feet is shaky. I need a stable force to connect to. Anxious husband, it ain't him. Father figure, he works too much. I never have talked to him. And they kind of go off the rails a little bit. And that's what I saw with my ex. And it was just one thing after another, life situation. She was getting older. Perimenopause probably had something to do with it in there. And kaboom, the bomb went off to the point where I'm like, I don't know who this woman is. She's acting very erratic and strange, and new personality, new everything. Night and day different person, total 180 flip. And it turned out there was an affair going on, very common story. And I did what a lot of anxious guys do. I tried to hold on. Let's not break up our family. Let's work on this. And she was just, no, I don't think so. And 60 days later, we're divorced after the discovery. Just like, boom, just like that. And I was left just wide-eyed looking around like, what the hell do I do now? This was not in the plans. 3 little kids. Unfortunately, part of the process was her going through this, if you want to call it a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, was she emotionally distanced herself from the children because she was too busy focusing on life 2.0 for her. Mm-hmm. And she knew she had a good, father figure. Her ex-husband, he would take care of him. He's a really great guy. And so often it would be, kids, you're with dad again. And again, and again. And I remember putting it all on paper, on a calendar. How often are these kids with me? And it was around 80% of the time for a while there. But to her credit, I know I'm babbling here.
No, please.
But to her credit, years later, after she went through that, whatever the hell that is, flipped back again. And we've been back to the old ways that I knew. Let's call her Mary, the old Mary. And we've been at that for years now. We've been co-parenting very well. And it's kind of an unwritten thing. We all kind of know that mom kind of went through something.
Yeah.
And it hurt a lot of people. The bomb went off, and a lot of people in the blast radius got hurt. Kids, husband, family. A lot of people were just left going, what the hell just happened? And we're all still recovering from that. But she is doing a heck of a lot better, and she's much involved. And now we have 2 adult kids out of the house, 1 teenager left over. And so it won't be much longer. Everybody's out of the house. We'll see how that kind of changes that dynamic there. But that's the story with the ex, basically.
Man, I would imagine. How did that feel for you being not how did that feel? I mean, that's I think we all know how it felt, right? You kind of put it, yeah, exactly. But more like as you're looking at it, you are the introspective kind of guy, right? And you're teaching men how to deal with this. So how do you talk to men about what you went through and how to either identify that it's happening or avoid what you not even avoid is the wrong route, but maybe avoid the divorce, not avoid the action. If something is going on, you can't avoid what's going on. You have to confront what's going on, but hopefully get in there before a divorce actually or infidelity actually happens. So how do you kind of navigate if you 20 years ago came up and said, hey, this is what's going on? How do you talk to you from 20 years ago?
You know what I would do? I'd probably, and this is going to sound very cynical, it's going to sound dismissive, but it's true. With more introspection comes the truth. And sometimes the truth is not very nice. It's not very pretty. This is what a lot of anxious guys don't want to hear. I would put my arm around myself and say, buddy, you and I both know you made a big oopsie years ago. You probably shouldn't have been with this lady in the first place. It's time you do it the right way. So have a nice sit down, come to Jesus moment between the two of you. And let's just put it all, this is what's going on with us. And this has probably been doomed literally from day one. We had signs from day one, the honeymoon, that this is what would happen. That's what I often hear from guys. When did the wheels fall off? Often I hear from guys, after she said I do, things just changed just like that. It's very common, a lot of avoidant women. Or kids came into the picture. There's a lot of hormonal, biological things at play here. Anytime people with a lot of dysfunction in their past, they can keep it kind of under wraps until that super stressful thing happens. And there ain't nothing more stressful than having kids. And sometimes that's the thing that makes you go, who the heck is this person? So for a lot of guys that are listening to this, you may very well sit down and go, yeah, this is a big oopsie for years now. We both know it, but we've been avoiding it. It's a very common thing is to get caught in what I call the family machine. And you lose sight of a lot of the softer stuff. What got us into this? Why are we into this? How can we improve upon this? Why? Because I got to take Billy to practice. I got to take Sally to this thing. We got this other family thing to do. Oh, crap, my job's in jeopardy. I got to work extra hard. Stress. 20 years goes by like that before you know it. And you haven't concentrated on anything revolving around the health of the relationship. So it behooves men to lead. You probably know that term very well.
What do you know?
Yeah. Wife, time out.
Yeah.
Have a seat. We're going to talk about this. Obviously, this is weird between us. Obviously, this is not healthy. We got to work on this. I'm willing to put in the work on this, whatever it takes, because I love you, wife. That's why I married you. I wouldn't have married you if I didn't love you. I'm hoping that you and I could die as a couple together, but not as it is right now. This ain't going to cut it. Are you willing, wife, to put in the work with me? I'm not telling you to do everything. I'm not telling you to scrap your job as mom and everything. I'm just like, just come over to my side of the fence a little bit, because I've been reaching out. I've been trying to pull you over, and you've been going no for years and years and years, and that ain't going to cut it for me anymore. But what that means, Adam, is those women could very well come back to you and go, all right, where's the divorce papers? I've been checked out for years. And you're like, oh, crap. That's not what happens every now and then. Yeah. But you have to be willing to face that as a possibility. But she may very well say, what do you got in mind? And you got to be ready to go, hot damn, this is what we're going to do. Next Wednesday, 8 a.m., I already made the appointment. We're going to go talk to somebody. We're going to make a point of, you and I on a date night every single Friday, blah, blah, blah. We're going to make a point of once every 2 months, we get away for a weekend. Aunt so-and-so can watch the kids. They'll be fine. A lot of women are very hyper-vigilant helicopter mom types. I can't trust the kids with anybody. They'll be fine. You and I, it's very important. I'm not saying we go on dates every night. I'm not saying leave the kids alone for, weeks on end. Weekend away, date night. You have to be the steward of the relationship, the leader in that way. If you're an anxious guy married to one of these avoidant type of gals, I know I'm painting with broad strokes here, but if you're of that type And if you just sit back with your arms crossed and go, let's see what she does. Don't hold your breath. It just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
You have to be the one to go put your ego aside, which is really tough for a lot of guys because they've been hurt for years and years. They've been rejected for years and years. And suddenly here's me going, you need to work harder and lead and do it. They're just like, I don't know if I got it in me anymore, Ralph. I don't know if I can do this. And it's like, then let her go now. Don't waste anybody's time. If you don't want to put in the effort, somebody else will.
Yeah.
Just
if you've already given up.
If you've already given up, stop wasting time. Be the adult here, But we got a lot of guys that are like, yeah, but look what I stand to lose if I leave. Half the time with the kiddos, if not more, which often for a lot of divorced guys is not the case, because even when it's mom's time, you see them at soccer, you see them at football, you see them at the thing. They're FaceTiming you. Dad, you want to do dinner? I've been doing that for years and years, and I see my kids all the time. And then there's the thing about losing my wealth. That's a very real thing for a lot of guys. I've been working for years and years and years. I've built up this nice little nest egg or 401k, whatever it may be. I've built my business. Some of these guys, to their credit, have already visited with an attorney, and the attorney's like, buddy, oof, this don't look good.
Yeah.
You're about to lose all, and the guy sees it on paper and he goes, oh, crap, I don't want to deal with all this. So a lot of them are stuck. They feel completely stuck. That's a tough place to be in. So there's no one resolution for, here you go, guys, here's how to fix your marriage. Sometimes they just ain't fixable. And sometimes they are, and it means, dude, you got your work cut out for you. You better be patient. That's another interesting point. So many of these guys I talk to are very insecure about themselves. They don't like themselves very much at all. So they put in work. They go to therapy. They join a men's group like ours. They're reading book after book. These guys love to watch YouTube videos, read books, podcasts, the whole 9 yards. And they become a more secure individual. They're like, I'm not that bad after all. Especially after he loses 100 pounds and starts looking good and he starts getting what? Female attention. That helps the ego. So he's feeling more confident. He's standing tall. He gets a raise at work. Everything's great. And then he comes home to the wife he's in the middle of trying to rebuild the marriage with. And he's like, honey, date night's coming up Friday. I'm thinking the new Mexican place. And she's like, oh, do we have to? I'm just tired. Little Sally's got a cold. I'd much prefer to stay with her. And he's like, patience. That's where the patience comes in.
Yes.
Dude, this ain't going to be easy. But what I've seen is the more secure these guys become, the patience inversely goes down the other way. And I've had men who have very straight faced said, dude, I've been at this for 20 some years. What's another 5 years of this? And I can, good for you, man. If you got the patience, go for it. Let's do it. Let's lead. 30 days later. So I met this gal at work. Oh, crap. Here we go.
Yeah. Where did that patience go? Come on.
Where did the patience go? Well, she's 27 years old. She's hot, and she told me I'm handsome, and no woman has told me that in 20 years. I'm like, oh, Christ, here we go. Very, very common thing. Yeah. So, unfortunately.
So there are a few things I want to pull on that, a few strings I want to pull on everything you said. And you to go back to the beginning, you said that a lot of people notice, it was, and you even mentioned it was on my honeymoon, I started to see some stuff. And then, I think that all too often, we live in a society, and I'm going to paint some broad brushes over here as well. We live in a society that, because we've said that, and this is not to say that it's not true, but that women can go and do often their own thing, and we get that whole "I don't need no man" stuff. That the women don't want to even confide in their husband because, well, I don't need you. I can figure this out myself. And men are told that their masculinity is toxic, so they shouldn't be doing all this stuff. You shouldn't be leading and pushing this and that. And now we've got this dynamic in a marriage that doesn't know how to function because neither person knows how to lead the other or help the other or guide the other or work with each other. So they're all trying to figure it out on their own. Where I want to pull again on one of the strings where you said that you saw it, there were the red flags before. And instead of talking about the red flags, we bury the red flags and we ignore the red flags. So I want to encourage folks that do what you said that you would recommend that person do and sit the person down now. If you see a red flag, say something about it. Like my wife saw red flags on me on our honeymoon, and it took a little while for us to be able to go, oh, wow. Like I didn't realize that I was giving that red flag. I need to pay attention to what I was doing. And even if it's a little thing, like having the TV on in the bedroom, That can be a red flag, right? Because that could be a distraction to, again, what you talked about, the dead bedroom. You could turn your bedroom dead by just having a TV on in there because you're not paying attention to each other anymore. You're paying attention to what's on TV, and then now you fall asleep to the TV, and now before you know it, it's been a month and you haven't looked at each other laying in bed. You know, all you've done is look at the TV and the back of your eyes. The phones now, same problem, right?
Yep.
So I am always telling people that the number one way to get rid of some of the problems is to talk about them. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels like a punch in the face at first, but
absolutely.
You got to get through that.
Your heart's beating through your chest. What if she yells at me? What if there's drama? You got to be able to be to withstand that. To be the strong, masculine figure. There we go.
Yeah. Be the leader in the house.
Like, I hear you. I hear your emotion. I get it. You know, wife. I understand. I hear where you're coming from. I'd probably say the same thing, but here's the deal. Yeah. Now, I will even go back even further. Further. Guys, what's your identity? Who are you?
Yeah.
And what are your values? What do you stand for? What do you put up with and not put up with? What do you want out of life?
And you, not what society says about you, not what your mom says about you, not what your brothers say about you. You, what do you think about yourself?
Over here going, you're anytime you're independent, you're a toxic masculinity. The guy who's firm in who he is, strong in who he is, has identity, purpose, values, everything else says, so who cares? You're crap all the time. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Same thing with your wife. So if you have the good values and the identity in who you are, you pick somebody who matches with you. There's a novel concept. But in a lot of guys that I talk to, the deciding factor of not only is this woman low drama, it's like talking to one of the guys, et cetera, but she likes me. A lot of these guys have very little relationship experience. I finally found one that likes me. She didn't run away, and she talks to me, and she seems to really enjoy my company. That's it. Do you match in values? Oh, hell if I know. What's her identity? What does she want out of life? What does she want out of marriage? What's her vision for marriage? No idea. She likes me, and she didn't run away, and it's like talking to one of the guys. Not the best grounds for a relationship. Yeah. So if you don't start at the basic stuff, the foundational stuff, all these little cracks surface. As soon as those stressors come out, you got those kids. Who's this woman? You say, I do. Who's this woman? All those little things. It will come out eventually.
For sure. Yeah. So as it started to come out, then you saw like not only just cracks, but you saw the whole foundation just kind of fall apart and your marriage kind of going. How did you work through that yourself? And how do you advise other men who like, hey, they got the divorce papers, their wife is looking at them and like, hey, here I am. Now, how do you work through that mentally to get yourself in a point where you can be confident in who you are again? Because I would imagine that is like getting taken out at the knees and it's very difficult to stand back up again.
It sounds really basic, but you have to limit contact with the ex as much as humanly possible. Not to get back at her, not to be mean, not to be conniving, but so many men in relationships, men and women both, you've been with this person for potentially decades for some of these situations. You're kind of quasi-addicted to them. You're so used to them being in your life. I always say it's akin to losing a limb. Somebody came off and cut off one of your limbs, and you're like, well, I need a new limb. All right, can I get my limb back, please? I can't live like this. You have to recognize, dude, it's over. Let her go. She's not coming back. And if she sends you a giant, long, whatever, dramatic text message where she's unloading on you for whatever reason, just let it go. Delete. That's fine. Let her do her thing. It has no impact on you. She tries to make your life as contentious and difficult as possible. That's fine. There's this concept of gray rock. I don't know if you're familiar with. You'll hear a lot of people talk about when dealing with somebody who's very narcissistic in nature or just some kind of emotionally chaotic person, and they know how to push your buttons. They say this thing and they watch you react. They say that other thing, watch you react. What does the gray rock, this lump of nothingness do? Just sit there and go, okay, good to know. It's kind of like when you're in you're with a mediator and you're going back and forth in a divorce thing. And the wife, this is a very common scenario. You're putting everything down on paper and you go, and ex-husband will get the kids 50% of the time and da-da-da-da. And the wife just starts bawling. I can't believe you're taking the kids away from me. This is horrible, terrible. They need their mother. How awful, blah, 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 blah. And if you get into that and you're like, well, yeah, well, and you're back and forth, the mediator says, guys, you two have stuff you need to work on before you come to mediation. We'll table this for next month, 3 weeks from now, blah, blah. And it just keeps going. Versus the guy who just listens and listens. It goes, okay, on to the next point. That's a very gray rock thing. This has no impact on me. This is a legal proceeding. It has nothing to do with anything. We both are legally, in that particular case, we're both legally able to have 50-50 custody with the kids. The law says we can. That's what we're going with. Motions, it doesn't mean anything. Moving on. That's what you kind of have is when you're going through one of these. It's a breakup. Breakups are tough, and it's extra super duper tough with divorce and kids and marital assets and everything else. But it all starts with cut off contact with her as much as humanly possible. You talk about kid stuff. Sure. When are you picking up Billy from school? 3 o'clock. I'll bring him to your place at 4:30. Thank you. Done. It's cordial. It's a co-parenting business relationship. What you don't get into is her texting you saying, I miss you, after she cheated on you 5 times and divorced you and everything, and it sucks you right back in. You have to be able to be the strong one to say, I'm not falling for that, so to speak. I'm not being sucked in. So many guys do. I'm always surprised at hearing how many guys are still sleeping with their exes after the fact.
Wow.
Relatively common.
Yeah.
Like these really dysfunctional, horrible situations that involve cheating and stealing money and all horribleness. He's like, so the ex-wife came over the other day, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? That just sets you back 19 steps. Now everyone loves to say how having sex is just a mechanical thing. There's no emotion behind it. I can keep feelings out of it. Nonsense, complete nonsense. This is what I say to we're jumping all over the place, but this is what I say to a lot of guys post-divorce. Because one of the things I tell men post-divorce is put the ladies aside for a while, at least a year. Just don't date, don't nothing. Work on yourself. You got a lot of stuff to work on. The logistics of your new life, your finances, your kids, they're going through a lot. So to bring like another new girlfriend into the picture, just, dude, no. Almost 100% don't listen to me. Because they're just so needing love and affection. Many of them had a very dead bedroom relationship for many years, and they just see this as, wahoo, I'm going to go get some. And I say, dude, be careful. No, you don't understand, they say. I can go out and just get my needs met, jump around from woman to woman, and I won't get attached. Okay, whatever you say. And by the second woman, they're head over heels, and they're telling me how she's different. This is a different situation. And next thing you know, her and her 18 kids are moving into his place, and away they go. And it's just all hell breaks loose. I hear that all the time. So to men, be as distant as humanly possible. Be cordial, though. You know, I'm not talking about being mean to the ex for the sake of being mean, but you need to limit contact. And stay away from the women for a bit. And focus on yourself. Men going through a divorce don't realize you're kind of nutty right now. Mm-hmm. You're not firing all cylinders. You're gone through a trauma. As wuss as that may sound to some, as weak as that may sound to some guys, they go, "Oh, I'm not traumatized." Yeah, you were. You may not know it, but you're going to have moments where you're going to look back and go, "Yeah, that was just a few months ago. I was kind of nutty, wasn't I? I was kind of." That wasn't the right way to act, and I wasn't the best to my kids, and I wasn't the best at work, and then by that time next year, you'll be like, well, even then I wasn't doing my best. It takes a while to recover from that. So it's not really fair to the other women out there that you're meeting in all these dating apps and everything to bring them into your world, Mr. Broken, to bring them into your broken world. It's not fair to them. And guess who you'll probably end up meeting and getting with? More broken women. Broken attracts broken. That's what we found. And it's not till you work through all your stuff that you start noticing, oh, wow, the cream rises to the top, and this one's perfectly normal. Who knew? A secure, normal human being who's emotionally open and vulnerable and willing to talk about things. And it opens up a whole new world to these guys.
Yeah. And it's, even before the divorce, there's a couple things that I wanted to jump on first is, you talked about you are traumatized, right? So divorce itself is a betrayal one way or the other, right? Even if there was no physical betrayal in the marriage, the divorce itself is a betrayal of one or the other, right? Because you had a vow, like you agreed to do something. So either you were betrayed or you're doing the betraying, like by saying, I want a divorce, even if it was mutual. You guys, there's something there. There's a hit emotionally on you, whether you want to believe it or not, because, well, we're men and we want to be able to say that, the emotions aren't a thing for us. We can push those away, which is true. We can. So can women, but we can push them away, but only for a short time. It's going to come back one way or another. If you don't deal with it, it is going to come back. It's the same thing with that red flag in the conversation. If you don't deal with it, it's going to come back. And it's going to be a bigger red flag by the time it gets to you. It's going to be one that covers your whole head. And you're going to be like, what the heck? I can't see anything. All I see is red. I completely agree with where you're at there, and just taking that time, realize what's going on. And then even if the divorce papers hit, don't even sign them yet. Take that time, step away for a second, realize what's going on, have the conversation, understand where it's at. Is this actually where you want to be? Is this what you want to be doing? Is like, who are you and what are you secure in? Again, like who are you? And make that establishment. I'm of the kind that is, I think that divorces should be extremely rare. If you made that commitment, you should be working your butt off to keep that commitment. There are reasons for divorce, of course, infidelity being one of them. Totally get it. Physical abuse, totally get it. Get the heck out. I'm not by any means encouraging somebody to stay in, man or woman, in an abusive type of relationship. But take a step. Like, have the separation. Do what you got to do. Like, figure out where it's at. Go live in a hotel for a week if you have to. Like, whatever. Take the time to figure that part out. So
you and I are on the same page, exactly. But we got a lot working against us.
Oh my goodness, do we not? Yeah.
There's a predominant theme amongst relationships, period, but especially in long-term relationships. If this doesn't feel like the most lustful, over-the-top, gaga, I'm in love, puppy dog love, like every day, all day long in this relationship, that must mean something is wrong.
Yeah.
So therefore, we should probably split up. And ironically, that comes from the women's side of things, the side of the aisle, more so from what I've heard. A lot of women are like, yeah, if I just don't have those feelings, then something's up here. And next thing you know, the guy's jumping through a lot of hoops to try and win the love and affection back, from his wife, when really the more realistic and pragmatic look at it is, well, of course not. You guys have been together for so many years. The honeymoon phase fades over time. It takes work to stay connected between the two of you. And the message is, if it takes work, it wasn't meant to be, is what a lot of people say.
Yeah, nonsense.
All the time from people. And it's like, well, no wonder everybody's divorcing each other. That's a huge part of it.
It takes work to keep a friendship, let alone a marriage. Like, you have to purposely seek out a friend to go and be a friend with. And okay, let's spend some time and like multiply that by a ton for a marriage. Like, it takes a lot of work and effort. And it goes back. I love you talked about when you were sitting down, with the recommendation you would have is that, hey, we need our date nights. We need to go spend those weekends together. We need to, and we haven't dated each other forever. It's going to be so, I don't care if it's uncomfortable. You still have to go do it. Like, it's not going to get better by not doing it. It only gets better by doing it, and it's like, go and have a date. And if it's super uncomfortable, then you can go, I think we can do better next time, because it doesn't get much worse than that. So let's try again and have our next date night next week, and just keep working at it, because that's what it takes. I love it.
And also, what works against you is thanks to these, like a phone on my desk here, thanks to these dumb phones and internet technology the way it is now, and it's only going to get worse. It is so easy for us to have inappropriate contact with people of the opposite sex outside of our relationship. All it takes is one little message from that former lover from 15 years ago that sees you on Facebook and friends you and sends you a message, and away you go. And now you're sharing not so appropriate messages with somebody. This happens all the time. And so when you start getting involved with these people, and it could be completely on the two-dimensional screen, you never even see them in the flesh, because they're halfway over, they're across the country, whatever it may be. But that sparks in you a lot of feelings of, I haven't felt like this in a long time. That butterflies. It must mean that, here we go again, it wasn't meant to be. My husband and I, my wife and I, whatever. I haven't felt like what I'm feeling with Debbie or John here in a long, long time. So that must mean that this is the real, and what I have now is, this is stifling. I shouldn't be in this very smothering relationship, in this long-term monogamous thing. There's also a lot of campaigning and information out there that goes against long-term monogamy. And it is one that I talk about often, that this rubs a lot of conservative people the wrong way, because it sounds anti-marriage. That's not my intent at all, which is we have to be honest and pragmatic about it. Long-term monogamy, two people together forever and ever, just them, no other folks in the mix at all, does not necessarily equal, at baseline, super sexy and romantic all the time.
Yes.
It takes work. You cannot compare the feelings that you have now in a long-term relationship to that of what you feel in a very relatively short relationship in the honeymoon stage. That's always going to beat the long-term in that department. So people hear that and say, you're talking bad about marriage. Don't talk about that. No, the follow-up to that is hence why it takes work.
Yes.
And some people try to remedy this with open marriages, with some other terms that you hear, poly, whatever, swinging, all this kind of stuff, which is let's introduce other human beings into the mix. And sure enough, they feel like a renewed sense of, but then what happens? All hell breaks loose, chaos, divorce rates are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Anytime you bring other people into the mix, it just increases the chances for drama and all kinds of awfulness to go up exponentially. So that's not necessarily the solution for 99.999% of people out there. That's my contention anyway. A lot of people in that world probably disagree, but that's what I've seen. So long-term monogamy is kind of hard in that way. If you want to keep connected romantically,
No, for sure.
It would seem that the natural inclination in the human animal is just to kind of drift in that way apart. If you just let nature take its course, you go do your thing, and she goes and does her thing, and then you're just kind of best buddies living under the roof.
Yeah. I mean, the natural state of everything is disorder. It takes work to keep everything in order.
Very well put.
It's a scientific fact, right? So I'm forgetting the term off the top of my head, but everything's natural state is disorder. I don't care if it's your sock drawer, if it's your floor, if it's your desk. If you were to see below what is right here, you would say, yeah, you're right. Everything is disorder, right? But it takes work to keep everything in order. So your dirty clothes, it takes work to put that back in order. So your marriage is no different. It is going to tend towards disorder if you don't do the effort to keep it in order. And your role as the husband, as the dad of the family, as the leader of the family, is to be that person that helps make sure it's in order. That doesn't mean that you're the one that does all the work by any stretch. Like, it's going to take work on everybody's part to make sure it's in order. But man, oh man, like don't walk into things thinking this is going to, I mean, this is not Beauty and the Beast. Like, the things don't just, it's not magical the way they live happily ever after, like set up for failure on those beliefs. So, which I think we set a lot of women up for failure by dealing with that at a young age. They're like, oh yay, Prince Charming is going to come and I'm going to be happily ever after. But no, like, it takes work. Men were lied to, women were lied to. Truth hurts. Like, deal with it. Like, this is life. It's not the fairy tale. So I'm curious why you said that some people in conservative circles don't like want to push back on it. I would love to hear why you say that.
Well, I think because there's a lot of conservative folks see that institution slipping away, marriage and long-term monogamy, marriage in particular. So to hear anybody say, guys, this is going to be a lot tougher than what you were told, seems to be anti-marriage in a way. That's kind of how I see a lot of folks say it.
Yeah.
Very, very strict people. For example, in a lot of my book, I talk about it behooves both the man and the woman to maintain themselves and try to, as much as humanly possible, maintain some of that attractive, sexy, and let's look at the man, for example, sticking to the man, confidence. Yes, taking care of yourself physically is important. Who knew? Working on your anxiety, not being such a needy person. And for the woman, maintain some of your femininity. It's okay to dress a little sexy. You can't be walking around in pajamas 24/7. Your husband may not like it. Newsflash. A lot of people see on your far more conservative side is, Ralph, that's all a bunch of nonsense. We have a duty to each other. We should just do it regardless. I shouldn't have to put on this act of being a certain way, and she shouldn't either. We should just get it on, and that's it. It's like, that's not quite how it works. And it gets to some pretty kind of scary stuff where you hear a lot of guys. I see a lot of guys in my comments on my social media material. They're saying that basically the woman just needs to lay there and take it, and that's kind of scary to see a lot of men saying that. And if she doesn't, she's not a good wife. Beat it. She's for the streets. That's the common phrase I hear from a lot of guys. These women are for the streets. And if they don't lay there and do their duty, it's like, that ain't good either.
So here's where this is where toxic masculinity tends to come in, is like the actual toxic masculinity, not the true masculine leader that society says is toxic. They kind of conflate the two, and it's nonsense. But I look at it and I think to myself, no, it does take work. I don't remember what podcast I was listening to recently, but they were talking about, I want to say it was Andrew Huberman talking to somebody. I don't remember. But he was talking about how there was one guy that would say, hey, I had sex with my wife for 9 hours on Saturday. And then when you break it down, it was like, no. What I did was I was flirting with my wife, saying comments to my wife all throughout the day that led to the maybe half an hour in the bedroom, right? It was not 9 hours of, oh my goodness. It was, this was the work that it took to get my wife totally excited to enjoy a night with me. And that's a process, and it's okay. And a woman can do the same thing. Like maybe it's just walking by wearing something that makes you go, well, holy crap. What has she got on her mind? I'm done with work. I got to close this laptop down and get the heck out of here. Who knows, right? But it takes those little bits of effort. It doesn't usually, in most cases, take much for the man to get all ready to go. But
more spontaneous.
Yeah. But of course, that also depends on your history. Like, you know, what experiences did the man have in the past? That maybe it does take them a little bit longer. So again, broad strokes, but
you nailed it.
But it takes that time. It takes that effort. It takes those little things. And hopefully somebody hearing this realizes that at year 1 of marriage instead of year 15 when they feel like it's already dead in the bedroom. So how does somebody at that year 15 where they're like, man, it's dead in the bedroom, like, and it has been for 5, 6, 7 years, it's just me and my phone, which I strongly discourage. Like, please stop looking at things on here to take place of what's going on in your bedroom, because that's only going to make things worse. So at least that's Adam's opinion, and I believe that's backed up by some fact. But what do we say to those folks who are now 15 years into this and they're like, man, it's been 5 years and I have barely ever touched my wife?
What can you control? You, ultimately. Mm-hmm. So take ownership. And a big part of my book, do I have? Yes, I do. Hold on a second.
It would be bad marketing if you didn't. There we go.
Dead Bedroom Fix book. Basically, that book could have been titled How to Become a More Secure Individual So It Increases the Chances of Reigniting Sexuality Between You and Your Spouse. So this is basically the handbook for all.
That would be a very long title. So I'm glad you didn't pick that one. Yeah, that didn't really doesn't roll off the tongue. Yeah.
Marketing said, Ralph, please. For a lot of men reading that, go, it's all on the man. Look at this. It's just page after page of like, dude, here's how you messed up and here's how to fix it. And I put my hands up and say, what else can you control, dude?
Yeah.
Can you imagine let's paint look at the extreme example. A super needy, anxious, not very successful, 300-pound, poor hygiene man goes to his wife and says, you need to be more sexy and we need to get going in the bedroom, chop, chop, let's go. She would look him up and down and go, what? Who are you, dude? Yeah. Versus a guy who genuinely puts in the work. He takes care of himself. There is some of the shallow aspect of it. Yes, a lot of people balk at that, but there's a component of, the physicality is a thing. How you act is a thing. How you take care of yourself. And yes, if you're an ambitious individual, you're going to be more attractive than the guy who's just like, same job, 30 years, who cares? That's a component of it as well. And also the guy we talked about leads. Wife, we're going to do this. Wife, we're going to do that. Let's go. Come on. I love you. Let's get on this show on the road. I got a date. I planned this thing from A to Z. You don't have to worry about a thing. I took care of the child care. Don't worry about that. That type of guy is much more apt to get a reaction out of his spouse than the guy who just crosses his arms, and says, let's see what she does. Like, buddy, I can save you all the time in the world. It ain't going to happen. Somebody's going to have to take ownership, be the adult here and go, I got it. Let's just do this. So, dude, take ownership of your faults. There's probably plenty. You're not infallible here. I was going to
say probably. There are plenty. Yes.
And then if you keep going, oh yeah, but what about, shut up, dude, just take care of yourself, okay? And then you can go to wife. If you don't see any kind of movement on her part, you can go to her and go, look, you see I'm obviously trying here. Like, you're not stupid. You see me putting in the work. I've asked you on date nights the past 8 weeks in a row, and you said, no. I'm not pushing for sex and being all needy and grabby like I used to. I'm not doing that. I'm doing all this in an effort to improve us, right? This is what we call the healthy version of the talk. The unhealthy version is, how come you don't love me? Is it me? You should be doing this, right? Men need this. If we don't have this, then we go nuts. So why aren't you doing me? And crying and bawling. A lot of men have been down that road. It doesn't go well.
Yeah.
So, be the strong guy and say, this is what I've done. Here's what I expect. I have boundaries in my life. What you're doing here and here, that's no bueno. I don't like that wife. We need to cut that out. And here's what I do expect. It's a horrible word to throw out there, but as your spouse, and I'm not asking much. This is a thing that gets a lot of men going, whoa, Ralph. Throw in there, and I'm not saying we should jump into bed right now. Because if you said, fine, let's go upstairs, I would say, that's weird. Yeah. We have so much more work to do before we even get to that point. Like, that's Z. We got A through whatever to get to before we even get way down the other end of the alphabet. So no. And that shows her what? Oh, this dude's serious. Okay. All right. So if he's turning that down, because he's always been like the little puppy dog, all I had to do is flash a little leg and he just does whatever I want. Now he's like, that shows her like, oh boy, this is different. That, oh boy, this is different, it's different for everybody. And unfortunately for some men, that point doesn't come until he slides the divorce papers across the table and says, I told you I was serious, sign here. And she's like, oh, okay, who do we need to talk to? That's what it takes sometimes. That's human nature. Sometimes it's not till you get all the way to the end that they finally wake up and go, oh, okay. And a lot of us guys like myself who've gone through a major rebuilding phase in life, we can attest to that. It wasn't until I was face down in the gutter, proverbial gutter, so to speak, that I went, I think I need to make some changes here. This didn't end well. That's what it takes for a lot of people to get to that point. Hopefully, fingers crossed, a lot of you guys don't get to that point where you have to start talking divorce and everything else, but sometimes it's what it comes to. That's what a good leader does. I'm willing to throw all this away if we don't do it the right way. I'm not willing just to endure all this nonsense. Business owner says, guys, we're losing money month after month. We got to redo things here. I'm not just going to, because I know we're all comfortable and everything else, but we got to change this. We got to cut costs. We got to start firing some people. That's the tough stuff to do. We got to let Sally go. She hasn't done anything for the past year and a half. We all love her, but come on, guys. Those are the difficult choices you got to make in any kind of relationship, period. Especially these troubled marriages. Somebody's got to step up to the plate. And guys, from what I've seen, I'm sorry to tell you, it's more often than not, it's the dude to go, all right, here's what we're going to do.
And it's crazy how much a strong leader who can still show affection and push through things is attractive to a woman. Like it's one of those things that all of a sudden you become a leader. And I'm not saying it's going to be overnight. I'm not saying that she may not be so burned out by you that she just has kind of put a wall up. But when you start to show that leadership, you've put yourself in a good position, you're doing all those things, slowly but surely they start to go, you know what? That's a pretty attractive quality. A man who's a leader, who's taking care of my family, who's supporting my kids while also being there with me. And it's like, wow, that actually kind of turns me on. What do you know? And it's one of those things that because our society has pushed us around so much in all of these different ways, it's screwed all of our brains up so much. And again, going to, I don't know what words I have to say for YouTube to not take it down, but the P word, as I hear on this commercial all the time on YouTube, if you start going down the thing where you're just objectifying the woman on the screen, there we go. Now, because I know I'll get deleted off of YouTube or something if you say that word. So you are now going to have a completely wrong idea of what should be going on with you and your wife to begin with. And
I have the phrase, by the way, to bypass the word you were trying to say.
Okay.
I always say adult entertainment.
Adult entertainment, yes, which is a very odd way of saying that, right? I get it. That is the adult entertainment. But what a lack of true entertainment that actually is. But I will go neither here nor there on that because, again, I will not be on YouTube anymore. But if you go down the adult entertainment side, now all of a sudden you're losing multiple aspects, right? Because now you're going to be losing your touch on what reality is with you and your wife, on how you can recover that, because there is no such thing as reality in that adult entertainment world. And you're going to be taking away your desires for her to begin with, because now you're going to be replacing her with something else. And what a not great way to continue your relationship.
Yeah, there's a lot of such vices that get in the way of you and your spouse connecting, and that's
alcohol. That's a huge one. Any number of things. Golf could be golf. I'm a golfer. Golf could be the thing that gets between you and your wife, right?
If it takes away a lot of time, and you're I don't want to talk about this right now. I'm going to go, whatever.
Like whatever it is that you're using to avoid.
But the old adult entertainment thing is especially insidious for a variety of reasons. It's engineered to get guys to come back again and again and again. It preys upon a very natural inclination in a lot of men, which is sexual variety. Oh, this is great. Look, it's a different one on a daily basis. But when you're trying to connect with and keep a healthy sexual relationship with your partner, it's the antithesis of all of that. It don't work that way, buddy. And then, it's interesting, but it's so ingrained in our culture that it's almost like a shoulder shrug to a lot of people. It's like, of course I look at porn. It's a big deal. To some people, I'm sure it's like a who cares thing. I can look at it and not look at it for another 6 months. Who cares? Well, a lot of people, it's like I look at it and look at it and look at it. Next thing you know, 3 hours goes by. That's not good. And what I've seen, it's so ingrained culturally, could also apply to the alcohol thing.
Yes.
All I got to do is put something on there on my social media that says, like on Facebook, hey guys, just a little challenge for you. Give up alcohol for 30 days. See what it does for your health, your relationship, and everything. You want to see anger. Who are you to tell? Who are you to tell us to do this? My grandpa drank until he was 99, and he lived. Blah, blah. It just hundreds of these comments. Like,
yeah,
how when you? I'm not a drinker myself. By that I mean I don't see it as a need. If I have a cocktail, great, and if I don't have one for another 9 months, no biggie. If somebody told me like, dude, you're not gonna have another beer for 9 months, I'd be like, I don't care. Well, some people apparently that's like a huge freaking deal to a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's something to look at. Like, oh, that's not good, dude. And invariably, when I hear, I'll often get guys that'll email me saying, do you have a spot that I can chat with you? Because I do one-on-one chats with guys. Do you have a spot tomorrow, like at 12 o'clock noon? No, but I guess I could make one. I can move something around here. I don't have to go to that thing. Is everything okay? 911, dude, it's an emergency. Me and the wife had a giant blow up, and she said this horrible thing. I don't think I can recover from it. What precipitated all this? So we were drinking. I'm like, oh, here we go. Every time, dude. So we were drinking. So we went out and had a few. So, before I went out, I drank a case of beer. And then I had some of this, it's astronomical what I hear.
Yeah.
But that's, try it out, folks. Eliminate it for 30 days. See what happens. The porn thing, don't look at it for 30 days. See what happens.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, people will say, it turned out to be a bigger deal than I thought it was.
Yeah. And if you're on day 2 and you're like,
jonesing,
not
good.
Notice that feeling that you have there. That's a problem. People don't want to admit it, but that's a problem.
It is something like adult entertainment is. Now I'm wondering, did I slip and say the P word?
Twice you did, dag
yeah,
really?
My
editors are going to have to go. No, that's fine. That's why we have editors. They can take care of that.
All right, so stuff like that is you got a lot of people, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and they're sitting there and they got nothing to do, and the phone's there, and just bring it up real quick. Sometimes it's in the form of, let me talk to my affair partner. That's not good. Let me look at the adult entertainment. Let me go grab a beer out of the fridge. Nobody stops to say, all right, time out. Why am I immediately going for this thing? What's going on with me right now? Just sit in your anxiety and go, Ralph, it's okay. The world's not going to end. It's fine. You're just a little stressed out. You had a bad day at work or whatever. Maybe I just need to go to bed early. Maybe I need to, have I eaten? No, I haven't eaten. Maybe I just need to get something to eat. Maybe I need to quit with the junk food. Maybe I need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need a good workout. There's a lot of healthier alternatives than picking up that damn phone or grabbing or whatever it is.
Yeah, completely agree. So I want to go, one thing I've talked to a few folks about before they get married, what to do before they get married. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, I highly recommend folks sit down and have a lot of very deep conversations, lots of questions, lots of understanding, lots of where things at. I mean, I don't care if it's what is a good amount of times to sleep with each other in a week. Well, if one person says, "Oh, I think once a week is great," and the other person says 5 times a week, you got to have a conversation to see, because that's not going to work once you're married and say, "Hey."
That sounds so cold and calculated and pragmatic when Adam, marriage should be love and romance.
Yeah.
And unicorns and sunshine.
This is the BizDad podcast, right? So I talk a lot of business stuff on this podcast a lot of times. If you were to look at your business and say, okay, what does it take to make sure my business runs? You're going to sit down and you're going to analyze all the data, all the stuff it takes, all the things all the effort that's going to take, how many employees we need, what's my ratio of income versus employee expenditures I need to go, like, where am I at with all this stuff? What's going to be all of this stuff you're going to go through and be, okay, I got my SDE is this, and I feel really confident about that. Oh, okay. So you went through all that effort for your business, but you won't go through the effort for your marriage, the thing that you're hoping to have well past your business. Like, go through the effort, ask the questions. What are the numbers? What makes sense? It does sound analytical and it does sound cold. But man, oh man, when you guys could sit down and go, hey, remember that conversation? What's kind of changed since then? We thought that this number was there. I feel like we're a little bit low right now. Like, we agreed that 4 times a week, and I don't want it to feel like, okay, let's go upstairs so we can get our ratio. Like, no, like I want us to, what can I do as the husband to make sure that I'm supporting you in a way that allows this relationship to foster the way we started wanting that at the beginning? Because again, if you have the conversation, you have something to go back to. If you guys have never had the conversation, you're starting from fresh. So what are your thoughts on before marriage? What kind of conversation should we have? What sort of questions should we be talking about with our fiance?
Coincidentally, Adam, right before you and I got on here, I was in the middle of working on a video. The top questions to ask before getting married.
Fun times.
So
Great.
there you go. You'll probably see
How convenient.
it in a few weeks. And the number one that I came up with was, so why do you want to get married? Mm-hmm. There's right off the bat. You may hear something that is complete left turn from why you want to get married. One of you may say, it's a good expression of love. I'm a religious person. Da, 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 da. Another person may say, I see marriage solely as a means for raising kids. Let's explore that. What do you mean by that? Like, where do you stand on like couples, going out on dates and going on vacations together? My mom and dad were never really into that. It's just, that's not my world. Oh, that's something to think about because I'm very romantic and loving and all these other things. And I love that kind of stuff. And I love going on dates and walks on the beach. And the other person may say, that's kind of weird. That's a big deal, dude. And all the way to the nitty gritty of what's your stance on sex and marriage. And you may be very surprised to hear the other person say, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. Oh, well, it's something to think about.
Yeah.
A lot of people are under the misconception, sticking to the sex thing. You know how we're feeling now in this early dating phase? That's going to continue indefinitely. We're going to be 80 some years old and all over each other all the time. That's not going to be a problem with you and I. We're different from the rest of everybody. It's like, okay, cool. But in the very realistic chance that that's not going to happen, and a lot of people don't have an answer to that. That's just one aspect of marriage, but it's a huge one. And it causes a lot of rifts. And that's why I sold so many of those books, is because all the guys are like, as sad as it is, and this is a testimony to the male condition, but it's realistic, let's be honest, of all the things I've ever talked about, of all the things that anyone ever comes to me for, the number one pain point for most men is lack of sexual activity in the bedroom with their wife. Mm-hmm. We could talk about finances were really tough, and somebody got sick, somebody died, blah, blah, blah. It's the sex thing. So get that out in the open.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell my son. How's, son, I know this is going to be an embarrassing question, but how are you and the missus to be there? How do you click, behind closed doors?
Yeah.
It's important. Don't let it go, son. If you got some hesitations on that, explore it, stop, But why would people avoid such questions? Maybe that's the way to look at this. Why would you want to do that? I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to cause unnecessary drama. I don't want to lose them potentially. That's huge. Combined with a societal pressure to, dude, you ain't getting any younger. Woman, you ain't getting any younger. Women probably hear that more so than men.
Yeah.
Your baby making days are limited. You better get to it. You got a good one here. The dude's got a good job. He's a nice guy. We love him. He's great. Get to marry him. What's going on here? Yeah, but I have a hesitation about these 3 or 4 things. Just marry the guy. All you people are looking for Mr. and Miss Perfect. Just go ahead and get married. That's a pretty strong driver for a lot of relationships, is that societal pressure. I hear that from guys all the time. That why do we do it? She liked me, number one, and everyone said you ain't getting any younger. So it's just what you do. Yeah, you just get married, and it's a potential recipe for disaster. With that being said, there are exceptions to the rule. There are people in arranged marriages who never met each other up until the point of saying I do. And they've been going 40, 50 years, and they're like, we genuinely love each other. We're best friends.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you got lucky, guys. This could have went the other way.
It's funny. I think the statistics show that the arranged marriages actually last longer than the non-arranged marriages. Now, part of that's culture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of that's culture. Like in the culture, you just don't, they arranged it. This is what it is. It's just,
divorce, rather. You just can't.
Yeah. You just don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a definitely another side to that. But, I think part of that is also you have two sets of parents, and I'm by no means, I hope nobody is hearing me saying I think that we should have arranged marriages. Not what I'm saying, but it goes to the logic behind it. You have one set of parents that understands their child very well. You have another set of parents that understands their child very well. They have a conversation to say, hey, I think these attributes of these people match well together. I think these things match well together. I think our families jive well together. And then they're going not just like the man going, wow, her butt looks really good. And the woman saying, hey, he makes, he's 6'2" and makes $150,000 a year. Okay, great. They're thinking well beyond that. What is it that actually has the structure of the relationship? And then they get married and see that because they're looking at the different aspects from a logical view where they get to step aside, where the two people in there are not when you've been dating for 2 years, you're not exactly looking at the logical view, or when you're on your first and second date, you're not exactly looking at the logical side of this relationship. Most likely, you're most likely looking at the emotional side of this relationship, which is going to start to fade. It's going to start to fade, that emotional side. And you have to know that you guys have the core values, as you mentioned before, in line with each other, and you have the focus on what's going on. I talk about it in business side of the house, right? Business, getting into a business relationship is a lot like a marriage. You're signing a contract at the end of this thing. And if your idea of this business is that you want it to last 15 years and it's so exciting and that like, I want to be able to give back to the community, and my idea of the business is I want to flip this thing in 5 years, you're not aligned. You guys may fill tons of gaps for each other and fit really well on certain aspects. But if you're not aligned with the long-term vision of where you want this relationship or business to go, then it doesn't make sense. So have those questions at the beginning. Answer them.
And I'm glad you mentioned the arranged marriage thing, and that you point out, I'm not condoning this or campaigning for it, but there's something to be learned from that.
Yes, for sure.
What I often say to a lot of people is, all of these little marital life situations, no matter how repugnant they may be to you or archaic or whatever it may be, there's always something to learn from each of them.
Yeah.
Even like I would assume, based upon what little I know of you, you're probably not the type that looks fondly on somebody that has like a swinger type poly whatever.
No, not so much. Yeah.
But there's something to be learned from those folks. And you know what it is? The importance of novelty, keeping things fresh.
Keeping it fresh in your bedroom. Yeah.
They're a super, super extreme version of that, to probably a fault. But along the way, they learn some things that we can take from and go, thank you very much, and I can apply it to mine.
Yeah.
Wife, we're going to keep this fresh. We're going to, and some people use, not to get too out there with it, but some people incorporate some of that in the form of role play and things like that within a marriage. That's kind of a short-circuited way of bringing novelty into the relationship. And what do they all say? It revved things up. It sparked a fire, and so we didn't know it was there before. Now it's part of our repertoire, wife and I.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, we can learn from all these folks.
Yeah. And I am not saying again that you shouldn't be doing the role play thing, but you got to be careful of, where is that taking me mentally? Am I still, is it still my wife that's exciting me, or am I now going to start to look for that somewhere else? If you're not fixing the core of what's going on in the relationship, then you may just be looking, you may get that novelty, and then you're like, well, that person has that novelty too. Only that's not a role.
Maybe the gateway.
Exactly. So if you're not working on what it actually means, now by all means, if that works for you and your spouse and you guys are committed to each other, do what you got to do. Like, have fun. Whatever it takes. But I mean, it still comes down to, what are you doing at the core of your relationship, and making sure that at the center is each other, and you guys are working together as a unit to work towards a long and fruitful relationship. Which I think, again, at the beginning of the relationship is the most important time to figure that out. If you didn't, then the next most important time is right now, right? Like, if you didn't figure it out at the beginning, then you better figure it out now, because it doesn't get any less important as time goes on. You know, again, as it says that the problems get bigger as time goes on. It doesn't get any better. This has been great. I love this conversation, where we're going.
Absolutely.
You mentioned what I would say to my son. So for those dads who are here, how should they be communicating, in your opinion, with their kids on what a strong relationship looks like, what it is that they should be doing, both for their sons and for their daughters, right? Like, what sort of conversation should we be having with our kids?
You know, I actually wrote a book on that. It's called,
there we go.
It's called Real Talk, No BS Life Advice for Young Men. And I talk about it all the way from puberty up to relationships and girls and all that good stuff. And it really is, I keep hearkening back to it, and I sound like some kind of, I don't know, textbook type of thing. But son, you got to figure out who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, what your identity is and stuff. And so many young men, before they even figure all that out, are like, I got this girl, and she's my one and only. And I know she's my one and only, my soulmate, because I met her in math class in 11th grade, and away we go. My son had one of those, my now adult son. And it didn't work out, and it was heartbreaking for him, but we all saw that coming, you know. We're like, it's your first love. You know, of course it's not going to work. You're just two dummies getting together and falling in love, and she went to her university, and he went to his, and as soon as that happened, we're like, yeah, this ain't going to last, and sure enough, it didn't. But what do you tell these kids? There's so much. That's why you write a book on it. But it all begins with give yourself some grace. You're still learning, kiddo. You know, you're going to make some mistakes along the way. This is this goes against what a lot of people believe, but I believe that you get better at a lot of things with practice. And that doesn't necessarily mean go out and screw half the town and do it, but it means your first girlfriend's probably not going to be the one, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And your second girlfriend, that's okay. And you're going to learn a little bit about yourself and whatever along the way, and you're going to meet somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and that person may be the one. But kiddo, it's all going to be about who you are, what you stand for. Don't lose sight of that, whatever you do. So many men lose sight of that. I want to say lose sight of it. That implies that they had it to begin with. So many men don't have that sense of who they are and their identity and values at all to begin with. And anytime you say the word values, a lot of people go, here we go, it's another right-wing conservative thing. Not necessarily. Your values are just what you stand for, what you will and won't put up with, and everything builds from there, your identity and values. And it is a, son, it is a big honking deal who you bring into your world as your romantic partner. Do not belittle that at all. A big deal. And it becomes an exponentially bigger deal when you say I do, and an even bigger deal when you have kiddos with them. Yeah. So that little, you hearken back to, we keep going in a circle here, that you hearken back to those red flags you talked about earlier. I wrote a book called Red Flags, by the way. Got a lot of books on.
There we go. I like it.
The second edition just came out last week. But those little things snowball into big old things later on.
Yeah.
And it's, her dad abandoned her when she was 16 and she never quite dealt with it. And she used to live on the streets, but man, she made something of herself and now she's a bigger and better person. And did she ever deal with a lot of those issues of, no, she's not really a go to the therapist type of person. She's like, that's not something to ignore, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
That's something to pry into further. Yes, but she loves me and she makes me feel great. And I talk.
Ecstasy makes you feel great too. So probably not the best thing. Cocaine makes you feel great too. Doesn't mean you should be doing it. So.
Yeah, but tied to all that, there is definitely, we've hooked up brain scanning machines, and the parts of the brain that light up when you're in love are very similar to a shot of cocaine.
Of course.
But combine that with a very natural, normal, animalistic proclivity to pair bond with another person, to frankly make babies with another. That's what all this stuff's about. If you want to get really animalistic about it, is find person, procreate, and do it again and again.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty strong urge. And we got a lot of ladies that have succumbed to that urge and got with a guy that is kind of so good enough, I guess, all the way to a guy who's like, sure, he hits me, but it gets pretty nasty territory. So men and women both. Who you get with early on, hugely important. So place a lot of importance on it, a lot of time. I am all for long, long engagement periods. I'm not a big fan of, I met her and 6 months later we got married. I'm like, a lot of people don't like that. And you know what I often tell people, and they really don't like it, it's like, give it a good 36 months of knowing each other. It goes by fast. But a good 3 years, you're going to see a lot of that person. You're going to see him in bad times. You're going to see him in good times. You're going to see him put up with a lot of not so good stuff. You're going to go on trips together. You're going to see him interact with your family member. You're going to meet their family. You get a lot done in 3 years, and it goes by really fast. But this whole, I met them and 6 months later, it works for some, sure. But I think it's the exception to the rule. Yeah. So take your time. It's an important thing. Don't pussyfoot around about it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's one of those that, again, I do think it works for some. My wife and I were pretty quick on getting married. But at the same point, we asked a lot of questions of each other. We talked about pretty much, thankfully, as I tell people, we did not talk about finances. It's one of the things I do recommend people talk about, but I'm glad we didn't, because my wife may not have married me had she known that I was paycheck to paycheck and didn't know what a savings account was. But that's, I'm glad that has changed, thankfully, to her. She has made me a better man. And I think that's part of what a good wife will make you a better man, and a good husband will do is make her a better woman. I'm also, I already mentioned I'm a Christian, and I think that we should wait to even have intercourse until marriage, even have the sex till marriage. And you had mentioned one thing that it takes practice to make it better, and it was one of those things I remember a long time ago. It was some like high school church camp or something like that. There was somebody talking about that. They're like, oh well, you need to practice and know what you like or don't like. And it's like, well, if you're married and you don't know any different, then you just kind of figure it out together. And if you didn't like it that time, oh shucks, you got to do it again. Oh man, how terrible is that? And if you found out that you liked that, but you didn't like that, oh man, I guess you have to do it again, and then you get your practice. What do you know? You get to have all the fun in the world, to do all the stuff in the world you want to do. And I strongly encourage that. Enjoy, have fun with each other, have a great time. But I'm a pretty strong proponent of waiting until marriage at all. But you darn well better have conversations about stuff.
There you go. I was going to say a lot of that can be, you can hedge your bets with those conversations early on. That we'll talk about romance and staying connected and how important, where do you put the kids in the hierarchy of our relationship? A lot of that will indicate just how healthy your sex life will be.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily if you're good at the old in and out. That has very little to do with it. You'll learn as you go in that. But it's the mindset stuff. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, I'm again a proponent of having the kids be, and my kids know that they are number 3 on the pecking order. God comes first, then my wife, and then my kids. Without my God, I wouldn't have my wife. Without my wife, I wouldn't have my kids.
There you
go. So kind of need to put those in the right priority. Golf comes after the kids. Thankfully, my kids like to golf, so I get to golf with my kids.
There you go.
Guess what? It has to come after. If you start to put it before, priorities get out of whack. What do you know? So does your wedding. So does your marriage. Not your wedding. Your wedding already happened, but so does your marriage. Like that's rough. Well, Ralph, what else do you have here for us as we're getting close to the end here? I mean, we've been going this has been great. I'm really enjoying this. So what else? What are the things do we have to check off? What things are you thinking about that you're like, hey, we haven't chatted about this yet?
Well, I want to make sure your listeners and viewers on YouTube know that we do have special offers from my organization, helpformen.com. Go to helpformen.com/BizDad, all one word.
Hey, that's me, BizDad. Oh, very good.
And that's you. And we have some freebies on there and some big discounts if you want to chat with me one-on-one, if you want to join our group, got some discounts on that. And we have a completely free course, which includes a copy of the Dead Bedroom Fix book in PDF format. So you can watch me blab on and on about the whole dead bedroom thing for like 10 videos at no cost whatsoever. So
11 if you count this one.
Oh, there you go. So guys, check it out, helpformen.com/BizDad. We would love to see you in the Brotherhood, which is our private community for men only. We have a private discussion forum. We utilize both Facebook private groups as well as Discord, if you're familiar with Discord for conversation. Both very, very active. And then we have live Zoom meetings. We have up to like as many as 8 live 1 hour plus Zoom meetings every single week with myself and other on the team. I do coaching or mentoring, if you want to call it that, with guys one-on-one, as well as other guys on my team that do that. We get together in person. We're having our 6th annual conference coming up. We're going to do it in Louisville, Kentucky in 2026. Awesome. We've done Nashville, Austin, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Charleston, South Carolina. I'm missing one. And then we have a pretty sizable group in Australia, and they get together as well, and they're getting ready to have their 4th annual one here coming up here in October.
That's awesome.
So we're busy, and we would love for guys to join us. And our support community, we got a lot of guys that are like, my situation's a little different. Dude, we've heard it all.
Yeah.
Trust me, we've heard it all. And we have guys that are in the middle of marriage, and I would really love to turn this thing around. We have guys that are like, discovered the wife's infidelity and don't know what to do, all the way to divorce, post-divorce, and everything in between. Guys that have no luck in the relationship world. And what I found is we can try to put each in their own little silo. Okay, dead bedroom guys are over here. Divorced guys, they all end up mixing anyway. Because all our problems are all rooted in the same thing. All the stuff we went through as little kids, all our little relationships leading up to this broken one, quote unquote, that we're in now, or that we were in after divorce or whatever. And we all learn from each other. And it's a very, very open, vulnerable, and helpful group of dudes. And it's out of everything I've ever done, that's the thing I'm the most proud of, is that group, because we've helped out so many guys from all over the world. So it's been awesome. So I encourage your audience to check it out.
That's fantastic. And I think you said before we started recording that you have a discount for veterans too. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. So if you are a veteran, if you go to the Brotherhood page, you will see a thing saying, if you're a veteran, click here. And it's a whopping 40% off what is already a pretty cheap membership. The regular, if you want to pay month to month, $27 a month to get everything I talked about. Also includes all my books at no additional charge. I didn't mention that. And all the meetings that we have, we record all of them. So you have over 1,000 hours of recordings on your phone you can listen to of all our past meetings. $27 a month. But if you're a veteran, I think it comes to like $15 a month or something like that. So it's
awesome.
Not much at all. So, yeah, the veterans make for really good members. They're just on top of things. in charge. They get things done. It's like, what's my homework? And they get it. We love the veteran guys. So we want more of them. So that's why we
Fantastic.
do that. And we want to give back to those guys. And obviously I know that world pretty well. I've been growing up in it.
Yes, for sure. As do I, growing up in it and then joining it myself. So, and I love that you said that you can access it on your phone. You can replace potentially a bad habit that you have on your phone with a good habit on your phone. Listen to some stuff that's improving who you are. So, well, Ralph, it has been absolutely awesome to get to know you a little bit, chat about what you're doing. I love that you're supporting men, trying to help them grow into their masculinity the way they should be, being strong leaders, and helping them through times that are potentially not very great. That's kind of difficult that they're going through. So I appreciate that you're there to support. So everybody that is listening, please reach out to Ralph. Is there anything he can do to help serve, or share this podcast with somebody that you think would be a beneficial receiver of it? So Ralph, again, I thank you. Everybody listening, I appreciate you. Please comment below. Let us know your favorite parts. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the next show.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much for listening to the BizDad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be, and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.